Do you find yourself repeatedly drawn to partners who are emotionally unavailable? You want that love. You want that connection. You want to be able to connect on a really deep level with them and really get them to bear their feelings and listen to your feelings. But you repeatedly come up short with every single person you go out with and get in a relationship with. Why the hell is that? First, I want to acknowledge the frustration that you're feeling. I have been with a number of emotionally unavailable women, and I know firsthand what that feels like. They shut down when things get tough. You feel alone most of the time. You can't really bare your soul or share what you're feeling without them freaking out, stonewalling you, giving you the silent treatment, or just fleeing the scene altogether. But I do also want to acknowledge that often someone who is emotionally unavailable has an avoidant attachment style, either a fearful avoidant attachment style or a dismissive avoidant attachment style. And I have a lot of videos on that subject, so I'm not going to bore you with those details here. But if you're curious about that, check out all of the other videos on my channel on that subject. But your job is not to fix these people. You cannot fix what other people have broken. And in most cases, someone who is emotionally unavailable had a caretaker, usually mom or dad or both, at a young age who invalidated their feelings or made them feel bad for feeling what they were feeling or made them feel bad for crying. And they learned that the best way to keep themselves safe from an emotional standpoint was to never let anybody in too close and to keep everyone at arm's length. And they end up with mostly having a series of short-lived superficial relationships unless they get into a relationship with someone else with those same kind of attachment wounds from childhood. But let me emphasize again, it is not your job to fix these people. If they have a level of self-awareness and they're actively working with a therapist, you can definitely support them in that journey. But it is absolutely not your job or your role to fix it for them. And so it's okay to recognize these patterns early and to end the relationship before you get too far involved. But in order to get to that stage, we have to understand the roots in us as to why we're attracted to these people to begin with. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the 7 key reasons why you are attracted to emotionally unavailable people. So let's talk about it. Reason number 1, you mistake emotional distance for strength. A lot of the time, these people come across as confident, the strong, silent type maybe. And they don't really come across as emotionally unstable or erratic because they don't really share their emotions, period. So it's easy to mistake their emotional unavailability for confidence. But you see, there's a difference between genuine strength and the ability to regulate one's emotions with the inability to actually feel and show emotion. So to recognize if you might be confusing someone's emotional unavailability for strength, think about whether you're admiring their resilience or the fact that they, quote, don't need anyone. And you think that that's strength, and in a way it does seem strong, but it's really indicative of their inability to connect with others. Reason number 2, you're repeating childhood attachment patterns. How we relate to our mom or our dad or whoever our primary caretakers were has a lot to do with how we connect with adults in romantic relationships as well as friendships. If you were told as a young child to not bother your parents with feelings, if you were scolded for crying or sharing your emotions, or if you were given inconsistent love, that can create this pattern in us. And then as an adult, we are naturally drawn to things that are familiar to us, even if they aren't healthy things. They call that repetition compulsion. So it's kind of like the child of a smoker who died of lung cancer who becomes a smoker themselves. They know it's dangerous. They know that firsthand, but they're still drawn to it because it is so familiar to them from their childhood. And unconsciously, there is comfort in the familiar. And there's also comfort in recreating what you know. So think about your parents or whoever your primary caretakers were and how they reacted to you. How did they show love to you? Did they show love to you? Or were they indifferent? Were they angry? Were they stern disciplinarians who never showed any love or affection? Think about those patterns and how they may have affected you and how that might be affecting you now. If your parents didn't really show a lot of love or connection, or if you were made to feel bad for expressing your feelings, it's no wonder you're drawn to people who are emotionally unavailable in adulthood. Very familiar. Reason number 3, you have a fix-it personality. Many of us, myself included, have had this pattern where we recognize partners who quote unquote need fixing, and we want to come to the rescue and make them whole and complete and quote fix them. And it's because we have this fear of abandonment, and this is usually indicative of an anxious attachment style. We think surely if we love them enough, if we help them enough, if we help them grow enough, if we can fix them, then maybe they won't leave us the way people left us in our childhood. My mom and dad split up when I was 6 months old, and by the time I was 2, my mom had remarried and we moved 1,000 miles away from my dad. Then when I was 10, my mom left my stepdad and we moved 1,000 miles away from him. So I was constantly having people who were important in my life leave me, and it created this fear of abandonment that continued well into adulthood. But when we don't feel worthy and we have this fear of abandonment, earning someone's love by proving ourselves to them feels more valuable than just genuine affection. And so you may find that your self-worth is completely wrapped up in what other people think about you. And of course, that's not healthy. We need to feel good about ourselves no matter what anybody else thinks. Doesn't mean we can't listen to their feedback. Doesn't mean we can't act on their feedback and learn and grow. But we shouldn't need their opinion in order to determine whether or not we feel good about ourselves. And there's a huge difference between supporting a partner and trying to change them or fix them. No one can fix another person. They have to fix themselves. And if they do have issues, like a lot of us do, that's something that they need to be actively aware of and working on with a therapist. Reason number 4, you fear true intimacy yourself. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, and I know you're watching this video because you have been repeatedly attracted to people who are emotionally unavailable. What if one of the reasons that happens is that you pursuing unavailable people actually protects you from having to be vulnerable yourself? So you may find that, quote, half relationships actually feel safer than full-on commitment. Or maybe you find yourself routinely sabotaging relationships so that you're at least in control of how they end. So if you do think maybe you have some issues with intimacy yourself, signs of a fear of emotional closeness can include pulling away when the relationship starts to get serious, feeling uncomfortable or anxious when someone shows a genuine interest in you, keeping conversations superficial, and this next one is huge. If you do actually meet somebody who has a healthy mindset and outlook and doesn't have childhood attachment wounds, you think the relationship is boring because it's lacking these huge spikes of up and down dramatic behavior. And it feels kind of flat because there's not that drama and chaos that has often accompanied your past relationships. Reason number 5, you confuse chemistry with connection. Real quick, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button for me and the subscribe button for me as well. It's a great way to say thank you to my channel, really helps me grow my channel, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. You may find yourself kind of addicted to the chase or addicted to the chaos of being in a relationship with somebody who's emotionally unavailable. And the uncertainty of being able to make a relationship with this person work may actually heighten the intensity of it. And you mistake that intensity or maybe even the chaos for passion. Real passion isn't going to be dramatic. It's not going to feel emotionally unstable, and it's not going to be all over the place with huge highs and huge lows. When you're in a relationship with somebody who is truly emotionally healthy, it's going to be calm. It's going to be stable. Not saying you'll never have an argument, but there's not going to be huge dramatic pitfalls. And it's going to be very consistent day after day as you build and grow the relationship slowly over time. But intermittent reinforcement, like maybe you're with somebody and they occasionally dole out little bits of emotional availability, but then pull away. So that intermittent reinforcement can actually kind of create this addiction-like response in us. Dopamine spikes and serotonin spikes and things like that. But there's a huge difference between excitement, drama, and chaos and genuine compatibility. And you've got to learn to recognize the difference. Reason number 6, you don't feel worthy of healthy love. And I know I fell into this boat as well. If you're like me and a lot of important people, quote unquote, abandoned you in your childhood, you may not feel worthy of love. You may feel like the reason that they didn't stay is that you weren't good enough. And I know logically we know that's not the case, but emotionally as a young child, it's very easy to feel that way. And so low self-esteem can draw us to partners who validate those feelings of worthlessness inside of ourselves. And there's an uncomfortability about being really seen and heard by your partner because you're not used to it. And so you may find that when a healthy partner comes along, you reject them or never enter into a relationship with them to begin with, or you sabotage it early on. Reason number 7, you haven't defined your own emotional needs. Maybe you don't know what your boundaries are. Maybe you're not sure what your values are, and you're drawn to partners who violate your boundaries if you even have them, or who aren't a good match for you in terms of your personal values. So you've got to define what your boundaries are, what behaviors are acceptable, what are not acceptable, and what are some negotiables. And remember, setting boundaries isn't about controlling your partner. It's about letting them know what you will do if they do certain things to you. And there's a huge difference. You're not telling them what they can or can't do. You're telling them what you're going to do. But if you don't know what your needs are, you're going to have a very hard time recognizing when your partner isn't doing a good job of meeting them. So really think deeply about what it is you want in your next relationship. What kind of love do you want? What kind of communication do you want? What kind of passion do you want? And it's okay to even write these things down and make a list. After all, if you have no idea what you really want, you're never going to find it. And this is really the first step in emotional self-awareness. And if a lot of what's in this video resonates with you, I would highly encourage you to get with a qualified therapist and work with them on these issues, because that's going to be the best way for you to slowly begin to turn this ship around and move your life forward in a healthy way. But I do offer one-on-one coaching if that can help you. That can be in the form of a phone call or a Zoom session, or you can simply email me your problem and I'll record a custom video just like this one and get it back to you within a couple of weekdays. If you want more info on that, it's down in the description or on this card right up here. But let me know your story about what's going on with you and your love life down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.